Good morning, and welcome to the launch of SingleStore Pro Max, the data platform for real-time AI. Today, we're unveiling technology that meets creativity. You'll hear directly from the product and engineering visionaries that brought these features to life, while also enjoying live demos that showcase pioneering capabilities in generative AI, vector technology, and real-time analytics. You'll also hear from our customers who put the practical application of these advancements into the real world. We're ready to get started. Please welcome SingleStore CEO, Raj Verma.
Thank you all very much. Such a pleasure to see some really old faces here, friends, customers, colleagues. Really exciting day for me here. I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. And I was driving from my place in Los Altos to here in San Jose. And it was pouring down, and I was reading the newspaper actually on my iPhone, as I do. And today is the 40th anniversary of the unveiling of the Macintosh, which happened not too far away from here. So it just fundamentally changed the way civilization actually works. And I still remember my first Macintosh. I couldn't sleep the night before when I was going to get delivery of that as a college student in 1989 in India. And it fundamentally changed the way I looked at computers. I thought that was the most beautiful thing that had ever been created. And there was a mouse, and the floppy disk looked elegant. And I just thought, oh my God, with this form factor, that is the end of computing in terms of how can anything get better? And was I wrong? So now you all have something which is 100x more powerful in the pockets of or in the palm of your hands. So yeah, in keeping with the tradition of innovation in the Valley, I'm very, very excited to be here this morning out of San Jose, California, and I believe there are a few of you on the virtual world. So thank you for making time for us. It means a lot to us. Today we're going to actually speak about a few things. Yeah, of course, it's a product launch, but also I just got back from the World Economic Forum in Davos last week. And the buzz around generative AI was just palpable. Usually when you go to those conferences, there are a bunch of issues that get discussed. But this time around, it was 90% about Gen AI, and CEOs basically saying at the end of the conference, it's Gen AI or die, really, from an organizational standpoint. There were good conversations about governance, etc. as well. But yeah, productive week there, and I'm so excited to share some of the learnings that I had from last week, and more importantly about where we think at SingleStore Gen AI is going and how we can play a small but relevant part in democratizing AI going forward. All right. So my favorite player is Kobe Bryant, or was Kobe Bryant in NBA, and he's got this book called The Mamba Mentality. And he talks about how it's all about effort, showing up every day and putting in the hard yards. And that stacking of habits of effort ultimately turns into people doing unbelievable things. And he calls it the stonebreaker analogy, right? So not Professor Stonebreaker, but the Stonebreaker analogy in terms of it's the 1,000th blow that splits the stone open. But it wasn't really the 1,000th blow. It was the 999 blows prior to that helped the 1,000th blow split that stone open, create innovation, open paths that we all thought were impossible. And that is exactly I'm trying to buy time because the slide is not progressing. So, so I thought you would have fixed it by now. But this is so this is the stonebreaker analogy, and I do think that the SingleStore Pro Max, that launch that we are all here for, is that 1,000th blow, which hopefully is going to move the AI and generative AI forward for the world. All right. And I cannot start this show without thanking the countless number of SingleStore engineers, customers, partners, who have all contributed and who feel very strongly about the role that SingleStore plays in the database world And as people say that, only people who believe that they can change the world truly change the world. So I couldn't be more proud of calling you all my colleagues, calling you all my customers and friends. And this is an ode to all the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone on for the last over a decade that has put us in this situation where we are now a leading voice in the modern day generative AI platforms of the future. So a huge, huge gratitude. Thank you. And I appreciate you more than you would ever know. So yeah, thank you. Thank you all very much. And I just do want to say that this is for both current and past employees, the founders, Nikita, Adam. You all actually set the foundation on which we get a chance to do our life's work. So once again, thank you very, very much. Now, moving right along, I am a big fan of space and space travel and everything that's happening in space travel. And SpaceX, we all know what has happened there, and now they've really sort of kind of democratized space travel and space exploration and all the rest of it. It's just absolutely fascinating. I mean, understand that till 10 years ago, or whatever it is, 15 years ago, the only organization that could actually send a rocket up into space was NASA, and they did it at whatever, $1.5 billion worth or what have you. And then SpaceX comes along, and they do it for $80 million. Phenomenal. And I just started to reflect on that. And, over the last decade, about 13 years that we've been on this journey of creating the next greatest database for the developers of the world, the amount that we've spent, apart from blood, sweat, and tears and effort, we could have launched a few of these satellites into space. And that's the kind of magnitude of effort it takes to build and announce something that we are about to that we are getting ready to announce this morning. Now, before we go any further, the one thing that we have made as the tenets of our development platform has been speed, scale, and simplicity. Right? A lot of people actually come and ask me, as the CEO of a Silicon Valley database company, hey, what do you think is going to happen over the course of the next 3 to 5 years? Honestly, I don't know, right? I don't have a crystal ball. What I do know is what's not going to change. Because you can actually build a strategy around things that you know will not change rather than things that will change, because then that becomes a guessing game, things that are going to change. None of you, partners or employees or developers who are on the web, will ever come to me and say, hey, Raj, SingleStore's too fast. Slow it down a little bit, right? That's not going to happen. No one's going to say, hey, it just operates at petabyte scale. I don't want that kind of scale. All right? No one's going to say that. And no one's going to say, hey, it's too simple. Can you make it harder to use? All right? Now, if speed, scale, and simplicity is really the 3 tenets of database and of application development that will not change, those 3 tenets then become the right tenets for us to focus on. And the reason for that really is that only simplicity scales. And for Gen AI, there is no Gen AI without petabyte scale. There is no Gen AI without millisecond speed. And there is really the promise of generative AI is not met till we have generative AI in the palm of every person's hand. The democratization of AI for the world in the years to come. Some very bold predictions about AI. Predictions like, you are going to have $17 trillion of productivity gains from AI by 2030. Think about it for a second. $17 trillion, it's never happened before, not even in the Industrial Revolution. You'll have $26 billion added to the GDP as a consequence of AI, right? In fact, 26% of GDP through AI. And lastly, the revenues for AI, for software companies, for digital companies is going to be almost $1 trillion by 2026. in the next 2 years. $1 trillion industry. It's never happened before. And as I said, it's not going to happen till we can have a platform that democratizes AI. And the way to democratize AI is to have petabyte scale, but also for it to be extremely simple for all of you to use and to adopt. And that's what we're going to talk about. Let's actually reflect back. Remember, we are on year 2 of AI. All right, and I remember I was just graduating out of college when Mosaic came out. Remember that? It just opened up the entire galaxy of information for all of us, right? We could surf the web, etc. But let's take a look at how the various technologies that have influenced our lives look like in year 2 of their evolution. All right, so the personal computer looks something like that on the left, right? The Macintosh. And we thought this was the smallest form factor that you could get. This is what the mobile phone looked like in year 2. Do you remember? Any one of you remember? And by the way, you had to charge it. It got hot within 20 minutes next to your ear. And you were perpetually next to a plug point trying to charge it, right? And by the way, this is what the Amazon website looked like in year 2, right? And by the way, in year 2 of each of these evolutions, we thought, holy hell, we have reached the holy grail. We don't really need to do more. But you see how these things have now evolved, right? And also, I don't know if you remember this. How many of you remember the Razor, right? The Razor phone, I had bought it. I'd spent a lot of money. I remember I was living in Hong Kong or Singapore or wherever I was. And I used to walk around with it in the pocket and say, oh my God, look at this. It flips open. I can make a call and then I flip it down, put it in my pocket. Small form factor. It simplifies my life. Little did I know that it actually only simplified an aspect of simplicity, which was the form factor. And then, of course, smartphone came out and I was like, it pained me to have to throw that Razor out. And now I see the smart Razor coming out, so I might actually go buy it sometime now. Now, the one thing that was one of the learnings that we had over the last decade or so of doing this in databases is that having a tenet of simplicity is very core to us. And the way you simplify things is not by ignoring complexity. It is actually by conquering complexity. And that is what makes it hard. It makes it a labor of love. It takes time to do it. It requires resources. It requires the guidance of customers, a few of them that I see here around us. And again, we are extremely, extremely grateful for that. Now, the prime example that I see of simplicity having entered my life is in this entire transportation thing. How many of you now have a car that is almost self-driving, right? A few of us here. And as a parent, it gives me a lot of sort of solace that my kids can get home on auto drive, right? But the fact is that they can actually see things that a normal human brain might not be able to comprehend while driving, right? Especially the weather like it was this morning. And it has gotten integrated to my lifestyle now. I'm driving the car. This is augmenting my driving experience. I can take a call. I can be distracted yet be safe, right? And that is the entire way in which this augments my life. One example that I want to use is, anyone remember this? Do you? Good. It's sometimes, it's people don't quite realize what this was. For those of you who don't know this, this was a video camera, Flip. It later got acquired by Cisco. And I remember I was in Palo Alto doing with TIPCO, And we were doing some programs where we had to record stuff and do these things. And we didn't want to bring those big, massive video cameras, if you remember, that we used to use. So one guy went and bought this and said, Raj, here it is, back of your jean pocket, and you can record stuff. And then it's a USB cable. You can attach it to the computer, and stuff is going to be great. And we loved it. We absolutely loved it, right? Small form factor. And then, I used to go record my kids, playing around, thing. When we went on holidays, it came connected to our home computer. All the, images were all there. But what did it not do? It had a lot of complexity. I needed a home computer. I needed a printer. I needed an email device. My mobile phone was separate. My video camera was separate. My digital camera was all separate, right? It did not really necessarily connect to my personal communication system or stack. But individually, these things were actually not bad, all right? But coming together, it did not enhance my personal communication or interaction stack till this happened. Now, how many of you actually have a video device or, a camera? I mean, very few of us. I know Madhukar has it, but, he's a rare commodity. Otherwise, most of us, 80-90% of our pictures are taken through our personal communication device, which is usually our smartphone. The analogy that I have to this, and by the way, one of the devices that I've been really impressed by, any one of you heard of the Rabbit? You have, right? I mean, it's a phenomenal device. And they just, I saw the demo of that at the CES. And it attaches to your, I ordered one, so I'll report back as to how it works. But it basically becomes your digital assistant by sort of realizing what your daily patterns are. So now you can actually say, hey, Rabbit, order me my favorite Indian meal. And it'll figure out DoorDash, who's the restaurant, what are the dishes that I like, and the stuff would arrive at the time that I want it to. Now this is really still year 2. If this is year 2 of AI, imagine what year 20 is going to look like in AI. And I want all of us to sit here and dream a little bit about what is the art of the possible. And by the way, it is going to happen, like the examples that I gave about the other phenomenal evolutions or inventions of our times and how they have evolved from their year 2 to their year 20. All right. And why am I giving the examples of the personal communication stack, etc., and the complexity around this? This is actually a pretty sort of generous version of the complexity that most of the data estates in large enterprises have. There's an OLTP system, there's an OLAP system, there's a data warehouse, there's a full text search, there are XYZ swim lane databases, right? On an average, a Fortune 500 company or Global 2000 company has 67 to 75 databases or separate islands of computing and federated data stores in your organization, and data flows back and forth from one database to the other, or for you to make sense, you got to pull information from between 7 and 22 databases. That is complex. I know it's year 2, but even for year 2, that is very complex. And by the way, this data architecture in year 20 will leave you so far behind that you will be a joke. That is a fact, right? And the way we essentially, our position under the sun, we could be wrong or right. We are not confused about the fact that a lot of oxygen is being taken away by these vector databases, vector-only databases. All right? We hold them in great admiration. I think they have made us better. They are a good technology. And I do believe that they will be an extremely important feature set. So I just want to be clear. We believe our offering on the vector ability is best in class. So please do not give us any concession here. When you evaluate our vector capabilities, please evaluate us against the best there is in the vector world. However, our premise, again, as I always say, we could be wrong or right, we don't know, but we are not confused. We are not confused about the fact that the world and the enterprise data stack does not need an independent vector layer for you to be dangerous in your generative AI strategic plan. Whether it's us or whether it's someone else, the integrated stack, like the example that I gave, which has vectors as a very critical and important aspect of that stack, is the one that will win. Now, by the way, this entire thing that we are talking about is not something that is a reactionary tone to what has happened in the market. And I want you all to come with me on a little bit of a ride down memory lane for SingleStore, all right? A lot of times, people chase a wave. We have never chased a wave, right? We have actually thought about what our vision is, what our mission is, what our purpose is, and we put all our chips in. And then we've stood in the water and waited for the wave to come to us. And the wave has come to us now by way of generative AI. And let me take you through some of the design decisions that we made, the founders made, the initial engineers made, and the engineering team made along the way that has gotten us here. Now that we've earned the right to take this podium and essentially share with you the design decisions which we believe puts us in pole position to be your preferred generative AI application development platform. The first was transactional and analytical databases will never mix. Professor Stonebreaker, East is East and West is West, and never the twain should meet. We did that. We did that by design. We did that in 2016, row and columnar. Various data types. The world only 7-8 years ago was very fractured and divided around the need for swim lane databases for every data type. SQL, NoSQL, JSON, XYZ. We essentially believed that the future would belong to multi-model databases. All right. The other thing was, hey, you can either be fast or you can have the lowest TCO. You can't have both. We, by design, with a unique 3-tier storage architecture of memory, columnar, and object store, are not only empirically the fastest database with single-digit millisecond response times, but we are also the most cost-effective database for your organization. And that is really not us saying, naturally, we've got rose-colored glasses, but it's validated independently by third-party organizations. And lastly, semantic search. Everyone talks about the fact that you have unstructured data, that's 70% of the data in the world, and semantic search is for unstructured data, and that's what you need. Yeah, we agree. I think unstructured data is extremely, extremely, extremely important, and it gives you unique insights that structured data does not. Completely agree. However, you do not have to fight a religious war with SingleStore. We give you a hybrid search where you can search structured and unstructured data, because I do believe that is what would be needed for this generative AI world to progress. Now, just so that we are clear, the 3 tenets that we've built this on is the unification of transactions and analytics, all right? Various data types, SQL, JSON, as I said, multi-model, and most importantly, hybrid search, the ability to search both structured and unstructured data going forward. Which then leads us to the fact of what does, simply put, a generative AI stack look like. I'm oversimplifying this. I completely agree. And this is something that, it's time for me to plug my book that I have written, Labor of Love. And we essentially break it down into really the 3 tenets of generative AI is at the bottom, your data estate or your information, right? Data, information. And at the top is your LLMs, etc., which give you choices, right? And in between the LLMs and your data estate is a contextual layer which essentially provides the latest context to the LLM so that you can make the choices which are dependent on your business model, right? So it's the data layer, the contextual layer, and the LLMs. We essentially want to be the contextual layer in your organization by consolidating data and combining it with our vector capabilities to be able to connect to your LLM layer. That is the simplicity that SingleStore offers, and we believe we are very, very uniquely qualified to provide you that ability at scale and at speed. So that's really where we stand. Now, again, bringing this entire presentation from where we started as the personal stack and how that got integrated, SingleStore is really the integration of your various data types in your organization, whether it's relational, columnar, key store, JSON, semi-structured vectors, what have you, into one single development platform. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is SingleStore. And as I said, this is not something that we have sort of made overnight. This has been 13, 14 years in the making. We spent hundreds of millions of dollars developing it. And this is a mission and purpose that we are going to commit the rest of at least my professional career, and I know the rest of our engineers and my colleagues, most of us. This is really our mission and purpose, and hopefully that improves the lives of many, especially the vulnerable in society going forward. So now we come to the event of the day, introducing SingleStore Pro Max. By the very name of Pro Max, it's better, bigger, brighter, all the rest of it. And how is it better, bigger, brighter? It's a three-layered cake, as I see it. At the very core, those of us who've been in the infrastructure and the database industry for decades now understand that it takes 10 years to build a world-class database. Right? You can build a swim lane database pretty quickly, but databases are not like applications where you can build a really unique, differentiated application in a couple of years. Database is hard math, right? It requires you to be extremely bright to be able to build a database. And at its core is the differentiation, right? So the core of SingleStore, which is a converged database, which is a multi-model database, which is built in simplicity. On top of that, we have the next layer, which we are announcing today, and Nadeem and the rest of my colleagues will take you through it, is connectors, where you can get data in and data out. And that was something that we've been working on, and I think we got a lot of feedback from new customers that we needed to do better there. We've invested in that, and the labor of love for the last 12 to 18 months has come to fruition now, and we have the connector layer there, which makes it very easy for you to bring data in and out. And on top of that is the intelligence layer, which you need to be able to do your AI, which is by way of Aurora. And Nadeem and Pranav and the rest of the team is going to take you through that in some detail over the course of the next couple of hours. The next slide we talk about the SingleStore Kai. And I want to spend some time here about what the essential value proposition of Mongo Kai or SingleStore Kai for Mongo is. All right. We are big fans. I am personally a big fan of the Mongo database. Mongo as an organization, they've done a great job. The Mongo developers are exceptional. They are exceptional OLTP database, right? And what we provide with SingleStore Kai is very simple. We allow you to not, without having to leave your favorite database development platform, to press a button, and we can analyze the data that you have in Mongo 70 to 120x faster for you. And the experience is seamless. So here you get the best of the Mongo world and the best of the analytical world. So 1 plus 1 equals 11 for you Mongo developers, for you Mongo customers. So we want to be very clear, this is not replace your Mongo. No, you love Mongo, leave. We want you to use Mongo. Enhance, augment Mongo so that your overall experience, as I said, 1 plus 1 becomes 11. We are also going to have other Kai products for other application development platforms, but this is really the start. The data integration pipelines that I spoke about, that is something that our existing users and our prospects will find very easy to be able to use and then develop platforms. Also, the hybrid search element, give it a shot. By the way, Ramraj, where are you? There you are. Ramraj joined us about 2 years ago, and he's done a spectacular job with himself and with his team of making share tier available. Now, what is share tier? Share tier is the single store trial that never times out. So you can use it forever and ever and no problem, and it's free. So I was hoping for an applause, but that's it's an amazing thing, and I've tried it out and I was impressed. So if there's one thing that you do is go to singlestore.com, try the free tier, and let us know, and let's have a conversation as to what you think about it and how we can become better to suit your needs. And by the way, all of this is around, covered in an ecosystem. We provide you the Aurora compute services, our managed service, which, by the way, is majority of our business now. We are a cloud company with a self-managed option available as well. We integrate exceptionally well with the ecosystem. We are available on GCP, AWS, Azure, very strategic partnerships with IBM. And you must have read the press about our partnership with Snowflake as well, something that we are very excited about. And again, we think the world of Snowflake. We think it's done a wonderful job. And combining SingleStore with Snowflake is, again, that 1 plus 1 equals 11 opportunity for Snowflake users and for SingleStore users as well. And again, something that we are very excited about. And so to leave you with a thought, SingleStore ultimately is a platform, and this is a vision, and we'll keep chipping away like a stonemason does. What other rocks would we break and get breakthroughs and find new ways? Only time will tell. But it's a platform where you would be able to transact with high fidelity and reason with data without moving data and be able to contextualize data. And all this time, getting single-digit millisecond response times in a hybrid multi-cloud environment. And that, we believe, at least we put our hat in the ring, proverbial hat in the ring, to hopefully earn your business to be your preferred application development platform for modern applications and for generative AI applications. So that's really the summary of this morning. And I'll leave you with a thought. I came to this amazing country about 2 decades ago. And I heard this, this thing that appealed to me. And it was about the basic, it encapsulated the culture of the Valley and the innovation culture very well for me. And that was about this entire thing of, stay hungry, right? Stay foolish, right? And I think in this world, I've just added a few more words to this entire thing because I think that's going to help us for the next couple of decades and do good. And that's that one thought that I'd like to leave you all with. So thank you all for your time. It means a lot that you came and you participated with us. And be well. Thank you.
Please welcome SingleStore SVP of Product Management and Strategy, Nadeem Asghar.
All right, that was really exciting talk, guys. What did you think? Thank you so much, Raj, for setting the stage. And now we'll go through the bit more boring section, but for developers, maybe a really, really exciting section that how we are making this possible. So just want to make sure that a lot of things which we'll be sharing are futuristic as well. So just make sure that we are covered with the disclaimer. First, again, thank you so much for your loyalty and having a great experience with SingleStore. This means a lot to us, so thank you. We definitely strive to kind of make sure that you have the best possible experience, and this survey shows that we are doing a great job, and we're going to continue doing that, and that's one of our key focus. So thank you again. With that, just taking where Raj kind of talk about speed, simplicity, scale, what is the product principle we are taking this to the next level? So one of the biggest thing where we are now focused on that how we going to make our platform extremely developer friendly. That's our core mission. And you will see that throughout the day to day when we go through and showcase the product capability and simplicity. And when we say simple and easy, this is a mission from the UX to actual engine. How are you going to make these things simple and easy for you? One other big thing which we are doing, you heard about a free tier. You're going to see there is a massive attempt to make our platform extremely open. Because when you are developing application, we do not want to kind of make any boundaries or restrictions around that. And all with the enterprise scale. Without enterprise scale, you can't use that for your mission critical application. So these are the core principles which we are driving. With that, let's talk about that. What exactly is a SingleStore Gen AI and data platform? How does it look like? So let's take a look at that. The foundation, which is very, very important. I want everybody to understand the foundation of our whole platform is SingleStore database. This is how we are starting. So 3-tier architecture, HTAB, universal store, low latency response time, all the speed and everything. That's the foundation. Using that foundation, we are now offering some additional capability. The very first capability, which is the core heart of the whole GenAI, a pluggable and auto-tunable vector algorithms. What do you mean by pluggable and auto-tunable? You will see that. One of the big things which we are doing is that we are actually bringing you the best of the world open source algorithms, and we make it completely pluggable, that interface. So today we are defaulting on FIAS, but it doesn't mean that 3 months, 6 months down the road it's going to be only FIAS. We're going to continue supporting more and more libraries. So within that, when you are running IVF, you're running HNSW and other algorithms, you have the option. So we will be at par or better than a lot of other open source technologies, because what you are getting is on top of the enterprise database. So this is great. What else is different? Why we call it a hybrid search? So we are also bringing the latest and greatest versions of Java Lucene. Do you know that we've been having a full text support in SingleStore database since 2017? And now we are actually taking it to the next level by adding Java Lucene support. And when you combine your vector search with a full text search, this is essentially start giving you hybrid. And we don't stop there. Because if you look at that, majority of the world data which is getting produced now is JSON based. You heard Raj talking about SingleStore Kai for Mongo. When we are bringing this data and how we are getting 100x and better performance is not just simply leveraging existing engine capability. We are doing ton of work to make those analytics better. And this is the third pillar. So, and if you look at that, most of the unstructured, semi-structured data is getting generated in JSON format. When you combine that with the full SQL semantic, power of full ANSI SQL support, this becomes a really, really powerful combination. And when you apply this both on your real-time transaction data as well as data at rest, this gives you a very powerful combination. You can start with any use case. You say that I have a full text search use case. I want to start from there. Absolutely, you can start from there. I want to start you as a vector database. Absolutely. But it will grow as your needs grow. So you can start today with a vector. Tomorrow, if you want to kind of extend that with full text, you can absolutely do that. And one other area where Raj talked about is how we are making the data integration easy. Because we want to kind of give you a common platform where you can come and build your application easily and seamlessly. And when you combine these things, you get a very, very powerful, a petabyte scale GenAI platform. That is the key differentiator. And you will see, we will demonstrate some of the capability which I'm talking about today. These are all part of our this big release. One other key differentiator, I don't know people realize that or not, all this capability we are exposing that through SQL interface. There are very, very few offering in the market which can do that. Not only that we are stopping there, we are also providing you the API-based access. And in very near future, thanks to engineering team and all the investment, we're going to be offering this in a serverless manner as well. If you combine all these things, this is essentially the core single store engine. Where is the platform? This is where the top layer come into picture. This is where how to interact with the database, how to use your LLM, foundation models, notebooks, scheduling these things, bringing data from other sources. This is where the whole compute service come into picture, and this is where you can come and develop your application easily and seamlessly. If you look at this complete picture, this is essentially give you that mission critical GenAI platform. You can develop any kind of application on top of this. So you will be asking that, the next question is that, yeah, you talk about data sharing. What are you guys doing to make it easy? So let's talk about that. This is your core platform. If you think about that, three areas. Single platform, this is where your notebook and everything lives. Data store, multi-model support. Then you can run on any engine. So yes, this is great. But one of the biggest problem when people develop application, their data is sitting in some upstream sources, OLTP databases. Their data might be sitting in some data lake and analytics systems. If you say, I want to build a system and integrating that on top of all these systems, your application is going to be very, very complex. What we are making it very simple. So very first thing we are doing is that one form of the data which comes very, very commonly is a streaming data. So we have a pipeline. We have a first-class support for Kafka, Red Panda, Confluent, and all those systems. So you can very easily bring data, streaming data into the system. You said, yes, that's great. But I also have data sitting in MySQL, Postgres, Mongo. How are you going to do that? This is where we are doing the zero ETL capability by bringing the CDC in that data into the system. You don't need to worry about any third-party tool to bring this data. And you will see in some of our demos that as soon as data is changed in the upstream system, that's available in SingleStore. And then if you want to do a transformation and other capability in the database, absolutely you can do that as well. So using all these methods, you can bring any upstream data sources, including mainframe and everything else. But you say, Nadeem, this is great, but I have data sitting in analytics systems. It could be Snowflake, Databricks, anything. Absolutely, CDC and CDC Out capability, you can use that to bring that also from there. One of the most exciting things which we are working, and that's a core part of our foundation and partnership with Snowflake and IBM, is we are extending our engine to do a native support for Iceberg. This allows to kind of share bidirectional data with any system which has Iceberg support. So if you look at that, using this, now I can bring all this data from any sources from here and have it here. And when I'm developing my GenAI application here, it's super, super easy and simple. This is where the low latency matters. This is where all those things are going to be critical when you're developing these applications. So what exactly we are doing with Snowflake? So a lot of our customers see Snowflake and SingleStore very, very complementary. They don't see us as a competition. They're saying they want to see a better native integration between Snowflake and SingleStore. They're pushing us hard. They want us to run in Snowpark. So we are treating Snowpark as another cloud for us. And we are running SingleStore in Snowpark. But we are not stopping there. Then we are also making sure there is a Iceberg-based integration, there is a single catalog, there is a native pipeline integration on the native format. So you have multiple ways to make sure that there is data not leaving Snowpark, but at the same time, there is easy integration. We're going to expose all this through Snowflake API. So you're developing on these all application, real-time data app, GenAI app, data warehousing on Snowflake API, which make it very, very simple and easy for you. With that, I want to kind of give you a very early teaser. This is this can absolutely change in coming weeks and months, but I want to kind of excite you that where we are in this journey to do a quick demo. If you look at that in this demo, what we are showing you that if you look at this line, this essentially is a Snowflake, and using their service capability, we are running SingleStore in Snowpark. And once we deploy that, I'm getting a public endpoint, how I can connect to my database now. And when I go to that particular URL, you will see that this particular version, which you are looking at right now, it is running actually in Snowpark itself today. And you can see there is a leaf node and there is an aggregator. All these services are there and the data is there. This is just a start of the journey. This is where we are taking this. I want to show you that how real is that. I want to thank Snowflake engineering team, our leadership, their leadership to make this possible, and all the customers who are pushing hard for this thing. You heard about CDC in and CDC Out. One other capability which is very, very unique, which SingleStore offer, we want to make sure that all the capability which we are offering, can we apply to ourselves also? So you could have a system of SingleStore running in the cloud as well as on-prem, and say that, yeah, I want to make sure that there is a hybrid setup. There is an easy way to kind of move data from on-prem to cloud and cloud to on-prem. And in future, we are also working to deploy SingleStore in your customer VPC as well. So we have SaaS offering, PaaS offering, on-prem deployment, edge deployment, and you say that I want to kind of create a single pane out of that. How can I make sure that I can easily move data across that? This is where the capability which we are launching CDC Out is the core foundation to make this happen. This is again the foundational to make this happen, and you will see a real-time demo around this thing. This you can do today. And ultimately there is going to be a single pane of glass to figure it out which data sits where, all those information is going to be there. Now let's talk about what exactly we are delivering this thing. You saw some of the roadmap items in the previous slides, where vision from product engineering perspective, where we are going. But let's talk about what we are launching. What is the part of this Pro Max release itself today? So if you look at that, these are the core buckets where we have done a massive innovation, starting from the Helios or SaaS offering to core database. We believe core database is a great foundation. And the reason we are able to do hybrid and all of this capability, because all the innovation still goes into the core engine. You look at, keep in mind my first diagram, all the vector, full text capability, everything which we are adding is all in the core engine. So our nucleus is not changing. We are not trying to create new things. We are leveraging the existing capability of engine to build that. And there are a lot of great stuff is happening in the core engine itself beyond, including vector database capability and full text. There are a few other things which you'll love to see that, and we'll demonstrate those things for you. Data integration, we talk about CDC in, CDC out, Iceberg, and you see some of those capability also, that how we are making those things enable. The other area is the vector database. This is going to be a very, very cool demo for you. We'll talk about what exactly is in the roadmap, and we'll also demonstrate that how easy it is to use SingleStore Kai without rewriting a single line of code. With that, let's get into the AI part. What exactly we are delivering? So let's talk about that. Our journey with vectors didn't start in last 12 months. We had a vector support since 2018. We had a KNN search. We have vector functions. People are in production on SingleStore using vector related capability. We have KNN search available. But in this particular release, we are taking a quantum leap to that. We are adding a lot of ANN search related capability. We are making pluggable architecture framework available to you. So you can potentially not only leverage library of your choice, but also you can use between IVF, HNSW, HNSW, IVF PQ, any of those algorithms, depending upon your use case to use case. And you can apply this whole RAG pattern to both real-time as well as to your data at rest. And in order to kind of get the maximum performance out of this whole thing, we introduced new vector data type. You want to kind of build the right foundation. Anybody who's playing with the vector database in terms of roadmap, what we are trying to do is that serverless, we talk about that, all these capabilities are going to be available to you through serverless. But the biggest thing you really need to kind of keep in mind that what we are doing, we are adding GPU support to do when you're doing index building. Anybody who has played with vector databases, they know that it's super hard and complex to leverage the right algorithm with the right parameter. You want to care about recall, performance, cost, all those things are critical. What we are working on to provide, make it simple. You tell us what is important for your use cases is speed, accuracy, recall, whatever is more important for you, you just pass that hint and we'll automatically apply the right algorithm for you. All these capabilities are going to be available through SDK as well. And additionally, the power of our vector capabilities is that how you combine that with SQL semantics. So we are making sure that range, searches, and all those things are easily available to you. Additionally, we talk about that. We are adding full text search through Java Lucene. Today we have C Lucene available, and some of the demos which my friend Eric will show you is based on C Lucene current capability. But within next 3 months, you will see that we will have the latest and greatest version of Java Lucene, which will allow us to kind of do a lot more interesting stuff around that. Now I want to kind of simply walk you through people. This goes back to the point which Raj was making, that adding another purpose-built database, which is a vector database, is overcomplicates your architecture. This is a very common pattern. I'm sure you have seen million of times this thing. But what is the problem with this thing? When you're doing with other databases, that you say that now I want to kind of bring in another vector database in the picture. What exactly the problem it's causing? Look at that, your RAG pattern, your application, GenAI application is overcomplicated here because it needs to talk to at least 3 different systems. So you're constantly getting some data from here, getting some data from here, getting some data from here. You're responsible to stitching this data together. You're responsible to make sure that you have the proper security mechanism, RBAC setup. Anybody can see the data information on top of that, and then send it to the LLM. When you are building this application and you want to kind of get millisecond response time, there's so many hops in this thing. It's very, very difficult. This is when then you're going to start looking into, hey, I need a caching layer here. I need XYZ there. This is where it's continue becoming an overcomplicated way. But if you do the exact same pattern on SingleStore, if you just want to kind of see the simplified version of your RAG pattern, all this data which we talk about how you can bring into SingleStore and building these applications on top of SingleStore, it can make your RAG pattern super, super simple. With that, I would love to introduce my colleague Eric Hanson to kind of come and talk and give you a real life demo.
All right. Thank you, Nadeem. Thank you. So how about some demos? Okay, let's see what the product can do. So we thought about how to demonstrate the power of the SingleStore Pro Max release for generative AI, RAG, and semantic search. And we decided to demonstrate searching all of Wikipedia with semantic search and then doing retrieval augmented generation over that. So this allows us to do topical question and answering on top of the Wikipedia information. And there are 6.7 million articles in Wikipedia. If you break that down into paragraphs and say get a vector for each paragraph, there's 160 million paragraphs there. So we created a database on SingleStore with 160 million rows in it, a vector for each paragraph in the Wikipedia. Now, we didn't actually get proper real vectors for every single paragraph. It would really time consuming and cost quite a bit. So what we did to make this realistic and interesting is we found 1,800 articles, really interesting articles on video games. So there's 40,000 paragraphs in there, so we have 40,000 vectors, and we got mock vectors for all the rest. So there's 160 million vectors in the table that I'm going to give some demonstrations on. And this allows us to do semantic search and retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. As long as we focus on video games, we're going to get great answers. It's going to demonstrate the scalability of retrieval augmented generation with SingleStore. This is running on our cloud. We're using an S32 instance on the cloud. So we're going to cover several different use cases. KNN search, that's exact K nearest neighbor search. Approximate nearest neighbor search with indexes. RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Now I'm going to show you how we can use several different ANN index algorithms and experiment with them and decide how to pick the right one. We support different algorithms. Also how to do hybrid queries that involve full text search and ANN search, vector search in the same query to get some benefits from that. And again, you can do transactions and analytics and contextual search all in one place with SingleStore. So let's get started with the demo. All right, so if you take a look up top, we've added a vector index. It's IVF PQ enlist index here. It's got 790 centroids. And this has already been done, run in advance, because it takes a while to run that. And we're going to get a query vector about Nintendo Rad Racer. So we picked one representative paragraph, and we're going to use that as our query. So that's QV. So let's first do an exact KNN search. So that query is going to get the exact top 10 matches for that. So if you look down here, you see Rad Racer. It's getting good recall, getting good information about Rad Racer. So now that took a while. That took 3.5 seconds. So let's do it faster with indexed ANN search with that IVFPQ nlist index. You see, we're also getting good recall. All this is about Rad Racer. So really nice recall with that. So again, we've got exact KNN search or ANN search in the same platform, all through SQL. You choose, whether you want perfect recall or whether you need that performance concurrency you can get with ANN. And next, we're doing retrieval augmented generation. So the question we're going to ask is, tell me about the Mario video game franchise and its history. What is it known for? So when we run this particular query, you'll see it's just going to take a little bit of time to do a semantic search to get context. So it only took 0.15 seconds to do the semantic search with our ANN index. And now we asked OpenAI to generate an answer with all that context. It's going to take a little longer. It's going to take about 13 seconds to generate the answer. And you see, if you get a chance to read this later, it's really good contextual information that's talking about the Mario video game franchise. All right, thank you. And all the links that we got from the query. So, all right, let's move on. So now, let's see here. For my next demo, I want to show you how you can experiment with different kinds of indexing, whether you're using KNN search or you want to try different kinds of indexes like HNSW, HNSWPQ, and IVFPQ. So I've already built this HNSWPQ index, HNSWPQ2, using the M parameter, which is the number of quantizers for PQ. It's a very important parameter for performance and recall. That's a pretty good number for this particular use case. And now we got another query vector, which is about Halo. All right, so I've set QV to be Halo. And then I'm doing this top 5 search in several different ways. It's all the same query, but the first one is doing exact KNN with no index. All right, and the next use HNSWPQ. This is with the default parameters. And then the PQ2, which is this index with this M512, so it's a little different than the default. They'll have different behavior. And then we've already got that IVFPQ nlist index that I showed you before. And so let's select all of these, and we'll run them all at once, and then we'll evaluate the results. All right. Takes a little while to run them. So if we go and look at the log here, you'll see that the KNN search, the exact KNN search, took almost 3 seconds. All the rest took about 200 milliseconds, so much faster. So let's take a look at the nlist, IVFPQ nlist results. So pretty good. We got a perfect match on the top, which is what we'd expect. The next one is this PQ2, even better. So the bottom was 0.89 before, now it's 0.907. So we're getting really good recall with the PQ2. All right, now let's take a look at just straight PQ. Ooh, that's not good. You see that? It should have 1 on the top, but it didn't even find that one. So it got poor recall. So we really can't use this index. We should just delete that index and not even bother with it. And then, okay, this is the no index. This is the exact nearest neighbor search, exact KNN. Look at that. It got the exact same results that we got with PQ2. So PQ2 is really solid because it's got perfect top 5 recall. How about that? All right? Yeah. So next, I want to show you hybrid search. Okay. So we've got a table here, vectors with ID, a URL where the paragraph came from, the paragraph itself, and the vector for that paragraph. I've already added this IVFPQ nlist to this. This is the same one we were using before, but it's got 790 centroids. That's a parameter that we've used to configure the index. This time, we're going to use a different query vector about the Mario Kart video game. So we picked out the first paragraph for Mario Kart, and that's a really nice sort of proxy query for anything you want to learn about Mario Kart. And next, we're going to look at this particular query, which has two common table expressions, one that uses a full text search. And so it's going to ask about Mario Kart, going to get the top 200 with a score, and we're matching against Mario Kart information. And we've got a similar query down here, but it's doing semantic search using an IVFPQ endless index. So we're getting the top 200 for both in two separate common table expressions. And now we're combining them with, we're giving a 30% weighting to the full text search and a 70% weighting to the vector search. We're doing a full outer join. You're not going to find full outer join in a vector database, people. All right, we're doing a full outer join to line them up, and we combine them and run that whole thing as a single query, all in SQL. And so our score, we've re-ranked to get the top 5, got a nice ranking get good results about Mario Kart. Notice that the full text search score in this column is not in sorted order, nor is this one. This is the vector search scores, but when we combine them with our chosen weightings and re-rank, we get a unique and different order. So hybrid search with SingleStore. All right. All right, thank you.
Wow, this is really great. What do you guys think?
Thank you.
So there are a few things I want to kind of take a pause here and talk about that. Eric has shown you a multiple ways and how easy it is to kind of use vector database within SingleStore. I can create different type of indices with a SQL statement. I can check the accuracy of each one of them, and whatever I like, I can pick that one. I can apply all of them together independently or with full text search as well. So there is endless possibility. Think about that when you have this power in your hand, how easy it is to develop Gen AI application. And this is just a start. You will see have you seen the performance? Like one of the things which I was talking about, the RAG pattern, that how SingleStore make it super simple here, that less than 200 millisecond, you got your response from the RAG. But it took us more than 10 plus almost 2 seconds to get the results from the LLM. If you have multiple systems where you are stitching this data, this will all continue adding up. This is the power. So thank you so much, Eric. This was great. Now let's get to the next exciting stuff. If I'm able to get there. I guess there is some announcement before that.
This is your chance to get hands-on with SingleStore and win a set of new branded AirPod Pros. Simply enter the link or scan the QR code, sign up for a free SingleStore trial, try out the features, and we'll announce a winner at the end of today's session.
Awesome. Guys, go try it out. There is a chance to win. Now let's get into the next core exciting area. What are we doing with the core engine? What are we delivering in this release? And also, what are we delivering in our SaaS offering? So if you look at that, I won't go through the existing capabilities because I might need a couple of hours to just go through that. But the focus on the foundation, 3-tier architecture, universal store, petabyte scale, sub-millisecond response time, speed, all those things are we already have those capability. But guess what? We're still not happy with the performance. One of the big things which we are delivering is projections. And you see the power of projections where my colleague Dave will walk you through the actual example and applicability of that use case. And then there are a lot of other capabilities which we are bringing. Shallow table copy, all those things are going to make your life easier. And it will help you kind of get more mileage out of the database. What is in the future is constant innovation, which we are doing. So we are not stopping there, that core engine is done. No, we are going to continue bringing more capabilities around that with serverless, materialized views. We are going to continue improving performance on JSON, BSON, and other stuff. We are making all these things simple. We are making now our database to be more effective to run ETL related workloads. All those things are part of our roadmap. So what are we doing from our SaaS Helios service perspective? One of the game changer which we deliver in Helios was workspaces concept, where we totally separated compute from the storage. And on the same database, depending upon the tenant need, I can attach multiple workspaces. Without data movement, I could run OLTP workload, OLAP workload, ETL workload, anything possible. That's all are the foundation of our engine. But what we are doing now in this release, one of the big things which we are delivering, again, this is gonna make SingleStore more ready for enterprise mission critical application. We are introducing Smart DR. Smart DR, why we call it smart? Why not dumb DR? Smart DR because when you are making a copy of the database, it's not leveraging any compute at all. So it's all about cost efficiencies. Database branching, very, very powerful capability, guys. You will be amazed to see that with a single click, I can create a copy of production QA database without replicating the data. We are working on a fast scaling. We are working constantly adding more enterprise capability around how engine is going to be used for mission critical workload. MA, HA. We are removing single point of failures from the engines wherever possible. So you can sleep well at night. And in terms of the roadmap, what we are taking our service, we want to offer you the best in class service. We want to make sure that your upgrade experience is seamless. No impact, zero downtime upgrade is coming. Other big things which are coming is that when you're doing any kind of scale operations, there should not be impact on your workloads. And one of the biggest things which we are doing, our customers love our SaaS offering. But they say that, especially Fortune 200 customers, this is great, but can I run it in my own cloud, in my own VPC? The good news is that we are working to launch that also, where SingleStore service will be able to run in customer VPC. What does it mean? It means your data sits within your cloud account. This is not leaving. So you can run even more mission critical data sensitive applications seamlessly into your own cloud account. The other big thing is that a lot of large customers have a massive discount from cloud service providers. They want to take advantage of that. So you are burning those as ELAs which you have with cloud service providers in terms of under the cover infrastructure. I'd like to invite my good friend, Dave. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Nadeem. So one thing our customers have always been clear with us about is they want more of two things, and that's performance and ease of use. And I can think of no better way than to show our progress in this area than with three exciting new features that we've introduced in SingleStore Pro Max inside of a real-time marketing application that is very typical of the type of application that runs on SingleStore. Before I do that, I want to talk about the three features and the three needs that they solve. So the first one, suppose you've got a table, you've got your sort key set, you've got your shard key set, it's all working, and you realize your range filter is not as fast as you want it to be. Your order by limit is not as fast as you want it to be. You want to group by another column. What do? Well, today you have to create another table. You don't have good options, but with projections, you do. Now you can have secondary sort and shard keys on existing tables. Yes. I got so much more. Can't clap the whole time. I got so much more to talk about. The second thing is developers want fast copies of databases, of huge databases. They don't want to wait around, and they need this for a lot of reasons. They need it to share with people. They need it to be secure that they're not going to mess up their production database, and we've introduced that with database branching. That instantly will let you branch a database, and it creates kind of a copy on write methodology where when you copy it, it doesn't actually move the blobs, right? It's only remembering what you write to it in the future. And the other cool thing about it is you could branch into the past. It also powers our online PRTR feature. Really amazing technology that we're introducing. The third need is cross-region reliability. Now, a regional failure is not a thing that happens a lot, but you have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared. Most databases will tell you, oh yeah, you know what? Just run the entire cluster again in another region. What? You want me to pay essentially double because I'm running the entire thing again in another region to ensure against an event that almost never happens? We think that's dumb. And I'll tell you what's not dumb. SmartDR. SmartDR is going to move the blobs in the background, and only when you need it is it going to turn that compute on. But I'd much rather show you than tell you, so let me dive in to a demo to illustrate the power of these features. Here we have a classic SingleStore real-time application. We've got real-time notifications coming in. You can see them aggregating over here. We're matching people with geolocation and showing them the right ad at the right time. Classic SingleStore use case requires super fast ingest, something that we're amazing at. And so this type of use case works very well on SingleStore. But it's not enough for us to just do the OLTP workload. We also want to make sure analytics works correctly. And so that's why I've got this analytics tab up here. And if I jump over here, I can see, oh, now I'm doing aggregates. I'm looking at all my customers. I'm looking at which ones are performing the best, which ones have the highest conversion rates of the different notifications that are being sent out. And this is exactly the type of application that we're so good at. But we're never done, right? So let's add some more features to this. I've got a new widget here, and it's a real-time notification feed. I'm going to sort by timestamp. I want to see the freshest notifications that they're coming in. So I've got my sort key set on timestamp. I can see them coming in. Everything's good. What if I kind of want to sort by cost. I want to see which notifications are the cheapest. Oh no, I clicked it, spinny wheel, what's going on? This is slow, I don't like it. This is not what my application is about. It's not why I use SingleStore, I use it for speed. Let's see how we can use these features that I just told you about to fix this situation. So we're gonna jump right over into the portal UI. And let's first, how much data are we dealing with here? So I'll run select count star from notifications. Okay, I got about 13 million rows, so I got a decent amount of data in there. Let's look at the default sort. I'm going to select star from notifications, order by time span, limit 10. And I'm going to profile that. Okay, 28 milliseconds, that's pretty fast. And it's because it's doing an ordered column scan. The data is in order. I can see the sort key. That's what's causing this to be fast. That's why the default sort of that table is working so well. But then I said, actually, no. I want to sort by cost sense. What happens when I sort by cost sense? Uh-oh, column store scan, it's not ordered anymore. That's why it's taking 300 milliseconds. That is what's causing that spinny wheel, and it's because the sort key is different than what I'm actually sorting on in the query. So before projections, I would have been out of luck. But now I've got something else I can do. Now, I am about to mess around with the production database, so I'm going to use another feature. I'm going to take a branch. Because this is running a production, I don't want to risk messing it up. I am going to create the projection. That's a big query. So I'm going to create a branch. It's one line of code, attach database martech prod as martech branch test. Notice nothing else there. I could branch into the past, as I said before, but I don't need to here. And I'm going to run this query. And this is creating a kind of copy on write. It's not moving any of the blobs. And it's creating that in the background, and that's going to give me another database that I can use to do this test. Let's let this finish up. All right, that is all done. looking good. Let me go check the database, make sure everything looks right. If I go over to branch test, yes, I've got my 13 million rows that I copied in just that amount of time. That was not sped up. All right, and now it's time to create the projection. So create projection, I'm going to call it notifications by cost. I'm going to give it a new sort key. I'll give it the same shard key as before. I am putting all of the notifications into it. It is going to do a complete projection on the whole table. If I wanted to save on space, I could select only the columns that I cared about, and the projection will take up less space. So that is an option that I can use if I want to. Boom, look at that. 13 million rows in a projection. Okay, and now let's use it. Select start from notifications. I am going to put this hint on there. In the first version, you do have to tell the query optimizer that you want to use projection. We will fix that, and it will work automatically in a future update. Let's run this. Okay, one more time to build the query plan. Holy smokes, 18 seconds, 18 milliseconds. Holy smokes. It's running the projection, and it's because the sort key matches. All right, so that is projections in action, showing you the power. You have an existing table. You don't have to, create another table or whatever other, shenanigans you'd have to get up to make that work. All right, so now I'm feeling good. My widget, this is going to be fast now. This cost sort over here. I'm feeling good about this application, and I'm really excited about the power of SingleStore. And then one day, when I'm just hanging out in my application, we've had an interruption. Regional failure, once in a blue moon event. What am I going to do? Well, I'm smart because I use Smart DR. So let me show you exactly what I'm going to do. All right, let me go find the workspace group in question. Pro Max demo, I'm going to jam over here into replication. Okay, let's look at this. I got my primary region, US East 1. I got my secondary region, US West 2. It says it's in sync. Everything is working. I don't have a lot of choices. The way I like my UI, I have one big fat button that says failover. And I'm going to click that one button. And it is going to say, are you really sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. All right, we are beginning. Here we go, deploying the failover. Now, the first thing it's going to do after it starts is it's going to build up all of the compute that it needs. And the other one, that's building workspaces. That is what is smart about it. You're not paying for those workspaces the whole time. You're only paying for them when you need them. We're going to attach the databases. We did speed this up a little bit for the purposes of this. Took like 9 minutes the whole time, which is not a lot of time considering you don't have to be running that compute all the time to have the protection of the secondary region. Look, I can see I'm in the secondary region. I'm in Oregon. I was not before. Here's my workspace. Here's my databases. There's the branch that I created. There is the production database. They've both been created. They've both been connected to the workspace. One other thing I have to do is the URL does change right now. We are going to fix that as well so that it stays the same. But in this first version, you do have to change the URL, and I'm going to put in an easier password for myself to paste in there. SingleStore 1, super secure. All right, and I'm going to grab this URL. Here we go. Got Oregon in it. I'm going to go back over to my application. I'm going to say, you know what? Let's not do Virginia. Let's do Oregon. Let me put the password in. And I'm back. It's running again. Oh! Running again. That's the power of Smart DR, the security that you get. Thank you. Back to you, Nadeem.
Awesome. This is super cool. Guys, are you excited? This is one of the things which I want to talk about. You saw the power of projection, and you must be wondering that Nadeem announced that we're going to be doing Iceberg as a first-class citizen support. How the hell are we going to get this kind of performance on Iceberg tables? Any guesses? This is where we're going to continue this innovation which we are building through projections and materialized views. So when we are bringing those external table, we're going to create a materialized views on top of that. That's how we're going to get the same performance without copying the data. That's the power of SingleStore. All right, let's get to the next section. You saw the lot of cool stuff so far. Now let's continue this excitement. The next area, we talk about SingleStore Kai and what exactly it is. Let's see a live example that how it works and how when we say that you don't need to make a code change, we're going to prove that here in this particular demo. Raj covered that in detail, what exactly is SingleStore Kai. This is again, one of the big things is that a lot of these things which you see here is mostly driven by the customers. So a lot of our customers come to us and say that, hey, Mongo is great. My application is working awesome. OLTP, transactions, everything is awesome. But when I want to kind of do the analysis, I want to do the analytics, I want to do the slicing and dicing the data, I have to move this data to some data warehousing technology. And what can you do around that? And this is where we invested in Kai. This is where we are making sure that with zero ETL, you can easily move data from Mongo to SingleStore in SQL format and then leverage the power of SQL on top of that, as well as JSON. Both interfaces are there. So if you look at this diagram, the key thing which you want to kind of see that your application is continue running on Mongo and you are continue using Mongo shell. You just need to make a connection change and your application will be running seamlessly on top of SingleStore with zero rewriting of code. This is the power of Mongo Kai. With that, what exactly we are delivering? So last year we announced the public preview. We got a lot of feedback from the customers, rough edges, everything. And I'm pleased to announce that now SingleStore Kai is graduated to GA and we have added ton of capabilities. One of the biggest area where we have invested heavily, we introduced a new data type, BSON, to make sure that we can get the maximum power of SingleStore engine when you're doing JSON analytics. The other big thing is that Mongo has a massive coverage in terms of API support. We are continue adding additional capability. We already are better than Cosmos and DocumentDB in terms of coverage wise. And then we talk about the native CDC capability. You don't need to kind of go use a third-party tool and go through the complex ETL process. We are providing you zero ETL directly from Mongo to SingleStore. And best part is that Raj was talking about shared tier, shared free tier. This all capabilities available on free tier. You can go try it out yourself today. And in terms of the roadmap, where we are taking this thing, we are going to continue expand the coverage, API coverage. As you have use cases, we'll work with you to make sure that it kind of meets your use case. We're going to continue improving the performance. So that way you can leverage Kai for majority of your use cases that you have. With that, I want to call my good friend Manish to kind of come and give you a live demo. Manish.
Thanks, Nadeem. Hello, everyone. So we heard about Kai and the launch of it, so I'm super proud of that. But I wanted to walk through a customer journey. Where do they start off with? So typically, a customer start off building an application on top of MongoDB. As data grows, they hit multiple pain points. It starts getting slow, especially on the analytical side. And at that point, they decide, okay, let me move my JSON data into a data warehouse solution. So they pick one of the familiar choices they have. And they also buy an ETL tool because now they have to buy do ETL from their Mongo databases into the data warehouse solution. But that's not it. The last step, which is the hardest one, is now they need to rewrite their application to fit the language style of the warehouse solution that they pick. Mostly they are SQL based, so they have to rewrite their application to make it work on those SQL data warehouses. And they have to keep on managing these complex pipelines. We think this is hard, and this is not simple at all. And with with SingleStore Kai, we have introduced multiple capabilities that simplify this customer's journey. So to begin with, we introduce zero ETL that helps in a seamless and a simple data movement from your Mongo database into SingleStore DB Cloud with literally two commands that you will see. And finally, the application change. Now, we talked about that there is zero application code changes that we need to do. And I'll show that how exactly that will work, because it's just a connection string change that you do, and your application runs on the same JSON data with the same application code with SingleStore as a backend. So let's switch to this demo. Okay, so this is like SingleStore eStore. I'm taking a simple example, but something that most of our customers use. It's an e-commerce platform which is used to buy shoes. And this is currently running on a Mongo database. So we have a specific choice of database that we have used. This platform, as it stands right now, is used to interact as an e-commerce platform. You can order, you can order, you browse the catalog, you can order items, you can add ratings, you can check out. A typical example of an e-commerce platform. It also has a backend analytical system which helps the data managers to figure out what are the top trending products that you have, what are some of the highly rated products. It's processing roughly 2.7 million documents right now, roughly half a GB of data. And as you can see, as soon as I switch to this tab, the analytical query have been running. And they are taking its time because it's all powered by Mongo right now. And as you can see, this is the Mongo cluster that I'm currently using. It's actually, so the analytical query is still running, as you can see. And for this demo, I have used Atlas cluster using an M40 cluster, which is a reasonably sized cluster. And we'll see how this experience can be improved going forward. So we'll switch to this tab. And not to everybody's surprise, the queries took more than a minute. So this is really slow when it comes to these backend operation. And we want to improve this experience with SingleStore Kai. So now let's go to this SingleStore portal, which we have. I'm using an S2 cluster for the purpose of this demo. And we'll start off by first moving the data. And this is the hard part that most of the customers hit. I'll use the Kai shell, which is basically a similar shell that most of the customers are using. And it's completely embedded inside the portal. So it's like one place you can develop your entire application. So the first step would be, how do I bring my data from my MongoDB cluster inside SingleStore? Now, with the zero ETL solution that we have provided, what we think is bringing data and managing ETL pipeline should be as simple as possible. So we start off by simply creating a link, which essentially connects your Mongo cluster with SingleStore. It's running a simple command which just establishes the link. And the moment you do that, there is a connection established between the two servers. Now, let's select which all collections I want to import. Now, for the purpose of this demo, I want to import the entire Kai database, which has roughly 7 collections. So with another command that we introduced, we'll set up a pipeline that brings in all the collections inside SingleStore. Basically, I'm just mapping the collection on Mongo to a table in SingleStore. So as soon as I start running this query, you'll see that the tables are now getting populated inside SingleStore. So give it a second. And we can see that all the collection have started flowing in. All the data is already flowing in inside SingleStore. There is nothing else you need to do. It's as simple as that. And very quickly, you can see that the entire data has been replicated. Thanks for that. So let's do a sanity check. Let's see if all the data have been replicated. So I'll just do a document count on SingleStore. Basically, you can run the same Mongo query as I said using the Kai shell. So I just look at the documents count here, and we can quickly validate it from the Atlas cluster, and the document would be available, and it's all in SingleStore. But this was for the historical data. What about the ongoing changes? Let's try that. I'll go ahead and make an order. It's an order that will simulate an order document, and it will increase my document count in my collection. So let's see what happens. So let's place an order. This essentially adds a document in my Mongo database. But the moment I check it on SingleStore, it's available. So without any other operation, the data is flowing from your MongoDB to SingleStore with the ease that you would imagine that SingleStore would always provide. So let's check that. So the documents count is always increasing. The more documents are in MongoDB, it will be seen in SingleStore as well. And it applies to all the documents that are, all the collections that are in MongoDB. So, but we have talked about data movement, which was the first part. What about the bigger problem, which is the application migration? So this application right now was running on Mongo. Let's go and change the connection string to SingleStore. So the similar connection string that we get, we just change the database name, point to the right database. So we'll validate that part. It's small t. We'll test that, and we just save the configuration. That's all. That's all you need to do as an application migration, because SingleStore Kai makes your application migration the easiest as it can be. Now the configuration is all set. Let's switch to the analytical tab and see what's the new performance of the queries when they start running on SingleStore. The query took almost a minute in Mongo. It takes a few seconds, that's it, 3 seconds from more than 60 seconds. The more you run this query, because we cache the query performance, goes better. And now it'll boil down to even 2.2 seconds. What about the other query that we had, which also took a minute in Mongo? Let's look at the second query. The first query run was 3.7 seconds. Let's look at the second run. It's in milliseconds. We can clearly see that this is almost a 120x improvement, which we claimed, and we proved it. So with this simple example, we show how simple and easy it is to augment your Mongo database with SingleStore for analytical needs and get the best of both worlds, both of Mongo and SingleStore. Over to you, Nadeem.
Thank you so much, Manish. You stay here. You need
sure.
again.
Sure.
So guys, you saw that. If you have a Mongo application, why don't you go give it a try? Go this afternoon, give it at least try and see how it works. Let us know. Now we want to kind of talk about the whole connectors circle, which Raj was showing, that what are we doing, how we are making it easier. As part of that, you already saw Mongo, how easy it is to bring the data. You already saw how we're going to be running in Snowpark. In this demo, we're going to say that how easy it is to kind of build a hybrid platform. And in this particular example, you'll see that, that we have SingleStore running on the edge, how this is pushing all the data to SingleStore Cloud using our CDC Out capability. But in terms of the roadmap, we want to kind of continue adding more capability like this for other databases. We want to kind of make it more bulletproof in terms of you don't need to worry about schema inference and other capabilities. So you get by default all those things. We're also doing this same work for Confluent and streaming system. So with that, I want to bring Manish again on the stage to give us a hybrid cloud demo.
Sure. Thanks, Nadeem. So one of the problems that most of our customers have is they have data sitting in a single databases, But they want to interact with other applications and technologies because data is always, we want to have a system where people can get data in and out of databases. So the common example that we see is customers have these edge location or point of sale locations where they have applications running, and data sits in these locations, but it's hard to get these data out to other systems. With the Pro Max release, we have added the capability of CDC Out that makes it easy for people to get data out of SingleStore, and we'll try to show how we can do it from an edge to a cloud location. So typically, customers use these edge locations. They use open source technologies like Debizium and Kafka to use as a chain stream carrier, and then eventually get the data into the cloud, which is basically the backend where they do all sorts of analytics. And this pattern was hard to build earlier. With this Pro Max release, we added CDC Out, which makes it easier to build these setups. For this demo, I have a similar setup where I use an application which runs on the edges, and the central cloud instance is basically my aggregator, gets data from all the edge locations, and we'll run analytical query on those cloud instances as well. So let's switch to the demo. Okay. So in this demo, I'm using my 2 SingleStore instances. Because SingleStore is MySQL compatible, I'm just using the client there. So the 2 edge locations are basically represented by the 2 EC2 instances, and I'm deploying SingleStore there, while the central hub is basically my cloud instance running on the free share tier that we talked about this morning. So let's start off by just doing some sanity checks to make sure that there's no data in either of these edge locations. I just make sure of that it's all empty that I start with. And then I'll see as I add more data should be replicated without any change because my Debizium and Kafka is up and running, connecting the 2 edge locations to the hub on the cloud. So I did the sanity check. Let's start adding the data. I'll just do a first addition, which is a single line insert on SingleStore on one of the edge location. And the expectation is that the data should be instantaneously available on the cloud, which is acting as my hub. So if I do a select from the database company, that should be available. So we can see that data is already started to flow between the edge and the cloud. Now let's do the same thing on the other side, just to make sure that all the pipeline is working fine. I'll do the similar insert on the other side. The data as an aggregator is coming in, so data is flowing in. So CDC Out is working between the 2 sites. It's clear. But what about an application scenario? So to simulate that, I'll be using a bulk load of a lot of these inserts happening on the 2 sites. So let's do that. I'm just loading a few thousand rows on both the sites. And I'll do the same thing on the secondary site, which acts as a second edge location for me. So let me just do that part as well. This should be fairly quick. But the expectation is that while data is available on the edge, and we'll just check that here, the data should be available on this side. I think you can just copy the query. OK, so the data is available. We can see that the data is on the edge locations. Everything is working fine. I'll do the same on the second side. But then let's check on the central hub. What's the system status look like? So if we do a check here, we'll see that it's an aggregation of all the inserts that happen on all the edge location, and that's running on the cloud, on the free share tier. So we can see all the data has already been replicated. So typically, customers have analytical needs on the edge as well as on the cloud. So to simulate that, I'm just running a simple query to see the top performing products and on the 2 edge sites. But if I run the same query on the cloud, it would be a bit different, but because it's an aggregation of all the data. That's the power of CDC Out. Now, I'll do a bigger analytical query to see variations in my orders on the 2 sites. But to check it on the cloud, why don't we just switch over to my cloud portal, which provides a SQL editor, which is very similar to the SQL editor that we just saw. You can run the exact same query, just connect to the right database, which is the free share tier database. And you'll see that it's all available to be queried from my cloud portal as well. So it's easy for people to move data. It's easy to build applications using the same interface on the cloud itself. And that's what CDC Out gives you as a capability with the Pro Max release.
Awesome.
Over to you, Nadeem.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Manish. This is exciting, guys. Do you know what exactly it means? Gen AI everywhere, anywhere. I could run now my RAG pattern on the edge. It could be manufacturing floor. It could be my point of sales store. Wherever I want to kind of provide that capability, I can do that. This was a simple capability which we want to demonstrate, but applicability of this thing is endless. So think about how many other systems can give you that flexibility. A Docker image, you can go deploy all the way toward edge. Thank you. So now, I guess there is an announcement again.
This is your chance to get hands-on with SingleStore and win a set of new branded AirPod Pros. Simply enter the link or scan the QR code, sign up for a free SingleStore trial, try out the features, and we'll announce a winner at the end of today's session.
Now we have kept the best part for the last, and this is all about our cloud services, the whole developer experience, tech ecosystem, what exactly we are doing around that. And the reason, why did we keep it at last if it was the best one? Because this is going to bring home all the things which you have seen so far. And how to use our free share tier to kind of experiment those things. That's the reason why we want to make sure that how using Notebook you can come and build these capabilities with free tier easily on top of the platform. So these are some of the additional capability which we are releasing. So I want to kind of talk about, we released notebooks last year. Spaces is a big thing which we released. These are the blueprints. We're going to continue giving you the gallery of blueprints, how to best use SingleStore for different use cases. And you will see a ton of that example. Pranav will cover that. Stages that how easily you can bring data with few clicks. All those things are all there. And in this particular release, we are taking this to the next level, introducing free tier and also job scheduling service. That we are bringing data from different sources and now want to operationalize the whole RAG pattern. How I'm going to do that? These are all the things are there. And there is a ton of work happening around in terms of innovation. This is the most evolving space for us because this is where we are becoming from database to data platform. You will see easy integration with the ecosystem, easy integration with your LLM model, foundational model, with other Gen AI application. All those things are part of the future roadmap. And the back, guess what? This is on the cloud. We have a massive agility. A lot of these features will be releasing on a monthly basis. So we don't have to wait for 6 months to kind of see some of those capabilities. With that, I'll introduce my best friend, Pranav. Take it away. Yeah.
Hey folks, tough acts to follow, but I hope to impress you and wow you a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about is our compute service. Super excited about this. This brings life to our SingleStore platform. It makes us the most developer-friendly platform to build modern-day data, Gen AI apps, whatever you might have it. And on the basis of our excellent database and innovations that have come into our database that you saw from our colleagues, we have the end-to-end data lifecycle all on SingleStore and really easy for you to make these apps. What Compute Service does is helps you deploy GPUs and memory-optimized compute right next to your database. And with that, you can run your custom code, you can run Python, you can bring in your own images, your own containers, and run that against your database. With being co-located with your database, you get all the security, you get no expensive jobs. It's really easy for you to get started, have your data in SingleStore, and get a Gen AI or a database or a data app built very easily. Next slide, please. I want to show you a cool demo. And this demo started as a little message on Slack with my colleague. We were like, let's build a real-time database, real-time recommendation engine on SingleStore based on our free shared tier with our compute service. It was the Slack message that moved into a prototype that moved into production with rapid speed. And that's what I want to showcase here. We wanted to build a recommendation engine to predict and help me decide which LLMs I should be using for my use case. Raj was writing a book. We thought, maybe we should help him decide which LLM should be good for his book. That was the simple use case. There are thousands out there. We want to help you decide that. Data about these LLMs lives in thousands of sources. We've got GitHub repos. You've got Twitter, where people talk about these LLMs. You have Reddit, where, again, lots of developers live and talk about these LLMs. And we had some data stored in MySQL and Snowflake. So that's how it started. We had data in a bunch of sources, and we wanted to provide you some recommendation, a search tool on top of that. How we did this was entirely in SingleStore with our compute service, with notebooks and job service. With notebooks, you make it super easy to collaborate with your team, work in Python and SQL. We have a great Copilot, so you don't even need to write code. Ramraj is a big fan of the Copilot, and that's very exciting. And you can go from, again, just a message on Slack to a prototype and bring in data from a bunch of sources into SingleStore with notebooks. And you can take that to the next level with job service. Job service takes your notebooks and breaks it into production level apps. In this case, to bring the real-timeness of these recommendations, to ensure that all of the latest data, all of the latest mentions on Twitter and Reddit are being used in providing your recommendations, we used our job service. So what this does is essentially pull data from these sources every couple minutes, add embeddings to it, add it to your database, and make it queryable. So that's how the data flow works. Next. And we have an awesome front end with Vercel, and we have great integrations with these partners. And this is just the start for us. We're looking to expand these. And you can run your analytical, your hybrid search queries. You can run point reads and writes and connect your application to it. Great integrations, and this is just a start for us. The best part of all of this is all running on our free shared tier. I would encourage everybody to try it. It's the only database you need to power your GenAI applications. And I really mean that. On a single free database, you can run, like I said, your vector search, your full text search, your analytics, and your point reads and writes. And this is why we think we have the secret sauce and the recipe to be the most developer-centric data platform for the GenAI era. And we're really, really excited about that. Cool. So here, I'm a new user in SingleStore. This is what I see. I get started. I can see my workspace. Workspace is where you have your data. It's where it lives. Starter workspace is our free shared tier. I can create one in AWS. I can start it, and that's it. It's live. And that's seconds to go from database deployed. It's live. It's a connection string. Let's get building, right? Like we're in a good flow. Let's get building. I have a great gallery of apps on SingleStore where I can see what other people are doing and our community has built in SingleStore. These are notebooks with SQL and Python. I see this real-time recommendation engine. It's a template. I can use this. I can start my application based on what somebody else has done. That's awesome. So I click on it. It takes me into our notebooks. Like I said, notebooks are a collaborative SQL and Python-based environment. It runs on our compute service. And notebooks make it really, really easy to build these prototypes with your data already in SingleStore. So here I have this template which tells me I can do notebooks with my free shared tier and then connect it downstream with Vercel. It gives me some instructions on what I can do with it. I can pull data from various sources. Notebooks is where all of the innovation we were talking about previously with the CDC and capabilities, you'll be able to interface with everything that we were talking about with notebooks in a collaborative way. So in this case, I can bring in Python libraries. I can bring in my LLMs, which I'll be using, and my embedding models. I can connect externally with OpenAI, with other APIs. I can connect to MySQL. I can connect to Snowflake. It really is that easy way to bring in data into SingleStore. So here I've designed my tables. I can write some SQL as well. And as I go down in this demo, I show you how to bring data into SingleStore. And not just bringing in data, but bringing in data with embeddings. And that's very, very important for the modern day GenAI applications. You want your data to be coming into SingleStore have embeddings for that, and be ready to use in your RAG pattern down the line. We call this real-time recommendations, real-time AI, real-time RAG, and we're very, very excited about this paradigm and powering this in notebooks. So I start with this, and going from a notebook to a scheduled job is really easy. I just go schedule on the top right. I can select which database, so which database I want all of this data to go into. That's a free shared tier database. I want to schedule this notebook to run every hour or every 5 minutes, whatever your use case might be, and I can create this job. So there I go from, going back to what I said, from prototype to production, a couple clicks, a couple jobs, and I'm ready to go. So this is the job, it's live, and I show you how your data is being up to date. So this is the database with some tables, and in each of these tables, your sample data is being live and up to date with embeddings, pulled from all these sources in real time, and that's very, very exciting and very useful for us. I want to be able to pick the LLM which works for my use case based on all the considerations of all the data that's created. So that's what I show here. Now the next thing I want to showcase is our awesome integrations, and for a great one is Vercel. Vercel is a great partner of ours, and with a simple finding us in the marketplace and adding the integration, you can add your single store database to your Vercel project. You don't have to worry about your database strings and your users and your passwords. All of that is just, I select my Vercel project and I select my single store workspace, and that's it, boom. So you have your database and your data platform that's keeping your data live, is bringing embeddings into it, and you have an awesome front end way to connect to these tools to build applications and write code in Java, JavaScript, whatever you might have. So my application is now live. This is a LLM recommender. It's a Vercel application. And here I want to write a book on legal practices around the world. That's the query. It's pulling all this data from the number of likes, number of downloads from GitHub. It's giving me a semantic and hybrid search score, which is that there. And I can select into these. So all of this is powered by a single store database. This video was about 5 minutes. It took us slightly longer than that, if I'm being honest, but very, very easy to go from a Slack message to a prototype to a full-built production app with all of these.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And all of this is on free, so please give it a try. SingleStore.com cloud trial. Give us a shot. Thank you so much.
This is super awesome, guys. This is amazing, amazing. You guys can see that whatever we were showing in the product section, how we make it easy integration, all those things we demonstrated. The best part is that it's open platform. You saw the example here with Vercel, but you don't need to stop there. You will see example where we are using Watson AI to use the same Gen AI pattern. You will see Vertex, you will see Bedrock. So we are a complete open platform. There are a ton of examples in our gallery around how to leverage each one of those platforms. You'll see examples of Llama Index, how to use that, LangChain, anything which you want to kind of go use. And if you don't find anything, ping us. We'll make it available for you. So in terms of partner ecosystem, this is what a traditional ecosystem look like. So we are continue working with our ecosystem partner. This is an example of our key partners who we are working from streaming to ETL to BI to ML to data governance, all those aspects. The best part is that our platform is multi-cloud enabled. We run on all 3 clouds. And on-prem, we run on OpenShift as well. So you have a lot of options to run SingleStore. But the most exciting part is that as part of our Gen AI journey and moving from a pure database to a data platform, we are making developers' tools very, very easy to integrate with SingleStore. So on one side, you see the whole LLM, foundation models. On the other side, all the developers' toolings. This is a growing ecosystem. We are continue doubling down on that. So let us know, give it a try. And this is essentially what our platform look like today. You can run in SaaS, you can run self-managed in cloud, you can run on-prem, you can run on edge. and very soon in near future, you will be able to deploy that in your own in-tenant deployment as well. And all capabilities are available to use that. With that, I want to invite a very, very exciting customer and colleague, Matt Newman, and along with our very own Sarung. So give a big hand.
Please welcome SingleStore VP of Worldwide Field Engineering, Sarung Tripathi, joined by Adobe Principal Data Architect, Matt Newman.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, this has been a great session. How have you guys liked it so far? Wonderful, right? We've heard a lot of exciting things. I just want to reiterate what Raj, Nadeem, and everybody else said, is that none of this is possible without our exceptional customers, one of which who joins me right here, Matt Newman. You're here from Salt Lake City, isn't it?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah? You know how you can tell that the two of us, the two non-Bay Area people in the room, that we're the only ones wearing blazers. We missed the hoodie and vest memo, but awesome. Well, thank you. Just tell us a bit about your role with Adobe.
Okay. So I've been with Adobe about 3 years. I'm from the Workfront business unit, which Adobe acquired Workfront about 3 years ago, right as I was coming on. Workfront is a work management tool, so you can think of project or task management. And Adobe purchased us because we basically help kind of plan and orchestrate marketing campaigns.
That's awesome. And just tell us a bit about some of the types of users that leverage Workfront on a day-to-day basis.
So we typically have a lot of big enterprise customers. You can think of like T-Mobile or Coca-Cola or some of these big logos, and they have big marketing departments, very complex operation of orchestrating a whole marketing campaign or marketing activities. So they use Workfront to set those all up and kind of manage them end to end of the workflows, and then ultimately measuring how marketing campaign did and what was the ROI of a campaign, and should we run that marketing campaign again, essentially.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we've heard a lot today, and Raj sort of started us off with the three core tenets of single-store applications being speed, scale, and simplicity. One thing that stood out to me about what you're doing at Adobe is the sheer scale that you and your customers are operating on. So just tell us a bit about that.
So we have about 3,600 enterprise customers, about 500,000 monthly active users of our application. And what ends up happening is we have to, we're trying to provide customer-facing analytics for our users so they can run reports and dashboards and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately what that means is we have to join several tables that are 5 or 6 billion rows to do things like custom fields and authorization. And we end up having about 10 billion records that we have to join together. And those queries are slow, and they take a lot of computing power.
We're slow.
We're slow, yeah. It's about 70 terabytes of data and 250 tables. And really our target is to get under 5 seconds to basically copy data from Postgres into SingleStore. And then also the queries need to be serviced in under 5 seconds to have a good user experience.
Awesome. Very cool. And I imagine that those 60 to 70 terabytes of data are growing very quickly as well, so you need a platform to sort of scale.
Definitely, yeah. That we have about 20% growth a year.
Wow. Very cool. Awesome. So, you and I have talked quite a bit about your journey to SingleStore, starting with, as you just mentioned, Postgres, and then moving on to that. A lot of what we find from our customers here at SingleStore is that people come to us having already built an application, sort of bare bones, using what they know. And a lot of times that's MySQL, a lot of times that's Postgres, could be other databases that are open source out there. And then as those sort of single box systems grow and grow and grow with data volumes, with low query latency requirements and concurrency, you sort of hit choke points in the application. And I think your story is not all too different from that. So maybe you just tell us a little bit about your journey starting with Postgres.
Okay, so basically we had a legacy or classic
reporting application that, like you say, over time just got slower and slower. Some of our customers were experiencing 5-minute query times, and then it would time out. And it's this terrible feeling, like when you hear a customer say that, like, I waited until it timed out in the browser, and then I just hit refresh, and then it actually works the second time I run the query, and like, oh. And so, really slow and poor customer experience. Then we actually launched, our first attempt was to use Elasticsearch as our report, like kind of real-time analytics reporting solution. As we scaled that up, it was kind of working, but it was a lot of work to flatten the data and get it in an index the way you wanted it. It was really clunky ETL or transformation into that because we have this really kind of complex hierarchy, and then the price performance was bad. I mean, we had customers, as we scaled that up, it just was really apparent that it wasn't going to work, like cost-wise and everything. And it was fairly fast, but not near as fast as what we ultimately landed with SingleStore. So that's when we started to evaluate SingleStore and saw it as a viable replacement of these efforts.
I think it's a very interesting point that you bring up, and something that we see a lot in the field is it's not just price when you're picking a database, and it's not just performance, right? It's the ratio between the two, and it's sort of how those two balance out each other. And we see here at SingleStore that many of our customers have selected us, and that's the sort of main selection criteria. At the top of the list is I want to be performant, but at a price that's palatable and that's reasonable, and that will scale to those 20%, 30%, 40% year-over-year growth metrics that you're looking to hear.
I will say, it's not on the slide, but we also considered Snowflake and Databricks and some other options, but they're just pretty slow ingestion and slow queries and not really built for the high concurrency type of environment we're looking at. So.
I didn't pay to say that, so. Awesome, cool. So speaking of, as we talked a bit about sort of the fast interactive queries that you required from your customers really required. Tell us a bit about sort of what they're asking you for and what you ended up achieving with SingleStore from an interactive query and speed perspective.
Okay, so like I was saying, this isn't my first rodeo. I've been at a few companies where this is always the ask from the customer. Can we have our query, can we get our data in really quick, and can we query really fast on it? And then there's always this big compromise with product, and like, is 10 minutes fast enough, or is it an hour or 2 days, and then can the queries be 20 seconds or 30 seconds? And it felt like SingleStore was the first breath of fresh air that wasn't a compromise. It was like, it was kind of like, oh yeah, that's exactly what customers want. The data is in there fast, and I can get it out fast, like within a few seconds. Snappy user experience. So a lot of times our users are not just running reports, but they're actually building the reports. The whole purpose of this was kind of to democratize reporting, so not just administrators built reports, but anybody could. And so when a user's in there building a report, they don't want to wait 10 or 15 seconds every time they make a change on the report. So they want it really snappy and interactive. And then, like we said, the freshness, it's coming from Kafka, so it's within seconds. So if a user doesn't want to think like, oh, I created a project or a task, and then I have to wait 10 minutes for it to get into the reporting tool, like they want it there within seconds.
There's something else interesting on the slide that I think you and I discussed last week, which was Workfront and many other SaaS applications that we see in the market started as apps that had sort of predefined dashboards, right? It was, here are the 10, 15, 20 metrics you're going to see, and that's what you get out of the box with the product. And now what we're seeing in the industry is that more and more SaaS apps are giving the user the ability to define the dashboard, the user the ability to define the metrics that they want to see relevant to their business. And I think that's a huge part of this for you as well, and where you guys are sort of going with the platform.
Yeah, definitely. Ad hoc reporting, that was always a scary thing in our world. Like, what am I going to do when the user comes up with some crazy query that I didn't predict? But the reality is that's a customer need. They want that query answered, and we're even moving into the future where they use natural language, and they can ask all kinds of crazy questions that we can't predict. So to me, that's the future, and to build on a platform that's really performs well and answer the queries at the time the customer expects, that's an amazing platform I see in SingleStore.
Yeah, and I mean, you've heard all about all the sort of new SingleStore features today. There are things like projections, for example, where you can sort of make the schemas dynamic, which will play a huge part in that ad hoc reporting in the future. So you can be ready for anything the customer sends you.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Cool. So maybe just tell us about, these are your metrics, right? Built on SingleStore. So I'd like you to kind of tell us about some of the impact that you've seen.
Okay, so yeah, definitely we've achieved what we set out to do. We said under 5 seconds ingestion and 5 seconds query time. We're getting, I mean, the average is less than a second, but even the most complex queries are only a couple seconds. Performance is amazingly better than Postgres. 300x in some cases, from minutes to seconds, and then lower total cost of ownership. Like we said, there's this ratio of we're able to have pretty reasonable sized single store instances that are predictable cost and spend, and also getting everything we want.
That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, 300x improvement is pretty impressive. I bet the users are confused sometimes, wondering why it's so fast or how it got so fast.
Yeah. They're not asking to slow it down though.
Yeah, as Raj mentioned earlier, right? It's like those are you can bet on that for sure. Awesome, cool. So you've heard, everybody here, we've all heard quite a bit about generative AI being the next frontier today. You are a very sort of innovative mind, and within Adobe and your organization, we all know Adobe is a very, very innovative company. I'm sure that you all are at the forefront of this as well. So tell us a bit about what you're doing with Gen AI.
Okay. Well, so as you know, there are all kinds of Gen AI projects at Adobe, as you can imagine. In particular, in Workfront, we have some really cool ones. One of them is this like I was saying, our whole goal is to help you orchestrate and run a marketing campaign. So a lot of the content that ends up in a marketing campaign, you can actually generate using, the text, the marketing copy from, marketing briefs and whatnot. And then also even the images using like Firefly, we can generate a bunch of images that end up as an ad or a part of the marketing campaign. The assignee recommendation. So when you're on a task or a project, in the past, it's just been this like autocomplete. You write someone's name, and it gets annoying because you might have to assign 20 tasks. And this smart assignment uses all these factors and basically will recommend who to assign the task to. And it's a lot. Our customers are loving that one. And then also a smart form generator. So when you can in Workfront, you can actually create custom fields and custom forms. And so now it'll recommend, you should probably build a form that does this for your marketing campaign, and maybe these 5 fields on it, because you're often needing to ingest that data from your users.
I like the AI-driven recommendations on who to give the tasks to. I would just pass all my work to other people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any parting thoughts or anything you'd want to share before we wrap up, Matt?
I'm just excited for all the new features that have been announced today.
Yeah.
Like we said, projections and branching a database and the new vector improvements. I think, like we're saying, that I have this comfort that we're building on a platform that's going to keep meeting all these needs that keep arising that we can't even predict.
Awesome, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.
Now, pass it back to Nadeem to wrap us up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was super awesome, guys. Actually, with that, I also have a very interesting joke. There is a lot of respect for customers. See, they got seat, we didn't get a seat. So, but we were doing a POC with a customer, and recently, they started doing POC on SingleStore, and they stopped the POC. Why? Because their queries were getting served in sub-millisecond response time. They never saw that. Those queries were running in minutes. They saw something is wrong, something is broken. They stop that and try to make sure that things are working fine. And when they realize that this is the real data, they are getting this real performance, there was a wow factor. So this is a very common with our customer when the experience, speed, simplicity is core thing. Now let's wrap it up. I really appreciate everybody paying attention to for us for last 2 hours. So there are a few next steps which I want to kind of call it out and make a request to you guys. Very first thing, go try it out, SingleStore, free tier. Just you need an email address to sign up and try it all those capabilities. Within a week, all the demos which my team has shown will be available in our gallery. So you can go play with each one of them. So go try it out. The other thing which is probably, I'm very excited. If you look at our customer base, there are so many next generation systems are built on SingleStore. So we introduce a free tier. Free tier is a great to learn and do simple use cases and stuff like that kind of thing. But stay tuned. We're gonna announce say founders and innovator tiers very soon with the rules. How you can apply and come build on SingleStore free of charge. Stay tuned for that. I think this is amazing news. We should clap on that. The one other thing which we are working, we will be creating a GenAI marketplace. We want you to kind of come build something really, really cool on SingleStore. You saw all the team members showed what Pranav showed you that how you use the notebook and build something really cool and submit to the competition. We want to see 1,000 applications getting deployed in next 3 months on our free tier, and we'll pick the best in next 12 months, and there is going to be a massive prize for that which you can win. So, and this could be a upward of 100K. That's the price which we are talking about. So today we cover so many things. This was a breadth, and you want to kind of maybe learn more, you have questions. So all the things which we cover today, within next 3 to 4 weeks, we're gonna do a webinars where with each of the capability we go deeper. We'll take your questions, and you can get your answers. So we're gonna do a deeper dive sessions. Stay tuned. You will get the information about that. With that, this is a wrap. Thank you so much.